Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 17th, 2025 meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee of the University of Rhode Island Board of Trustees. The meeting is being held in person with committee members participating remotely. At this time, Board Secretary Michelle Carreri will conduct a roll call attendance to determine if a quorum is present. Please clearly respond present via WebEx or present in person when your name is called. Okay, Michelle, let's call the roll.
Thank you. Vahid Onjazieri, Armin Sabatoni,
Present via WebEx.
Maria Duchamp, Michael Fascitelli, Joseph Formicola,
Present via WebEx.
Courtney Nicolato, Christine Bovey,
Present via WebEx.
Mark Parlange.
Present WebEx.
Board Chair Margot Cook is also present. And
Present via WebEx.
thank you. And Chair Cook has appointed herself as a voting member of this committee to ensure a quorum. And I believe Mike Fascitelli will be joining us shortly. So in the meantime, Armin, we can continue the meeting, proceed to the discussion items until Mike joins, and then we'll go back to the other items that
All
require.
right, that sounds good. I want to remind all the members, for the benefit of our audience and note taker, please clearly identify yourself whenever you comment, make a motion or second a motion. Participants using WebEx are required to keep their cameras on, as remote members and all persons present at the meeting location must clearly be audible and visible to each other. At this time, I would also like to acknowledge that the University of Rhode Island occupies the traditional stomping ground of the Narragansett Nation and the Niantic people. Are there any proposed amendment changes to the published agenda? Michelle?
Well, I believe in this case, what we'll do is we will have to amend it because we'll move to,
I don't think we have any.
actually, you know what? We have the approval of the minutes that we'll.
Yeah, we could do that after also,
move
but we
to
have no
agenda
other
items too.
amendments. Okay, hearing none, we will move to item number 1, which was approval of the minutes, but we'll wait until Michael gets on the call. We do have some discussion items that we will talk about, and we will start with the review of the draft of the FY 2027 and FY 2031 capital improvement. Abby, you going to give it a shot, or you're going to use backup?
I'm going to let Ryan do it.
All right, so I'm going to introduce to everyone that's on the call, Abby Benson, which is Vice President, Administration and Finance. Let's
And
give
Ryan
it a shot.
Carlos, our Director of Planning and Real Estate Development. And so he'll go through the slide deck for us.
Okay.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Armand. Michelle, can you pull that up?
Pulling it right up.
Thank you very much. So I understand we have about 20 minutes to discuss this. I'm going to go fairly quickly through many of these slides, but please interrupt me if you have questions. I want to leave adequate time at the end for any questions and discussion that you may have. So we can move to the next slide. Just quickly, the capital plan is a rolling plan for a 5-year look forward for projects that's submitted annually to the state. We have 5 levels of approval. We have our internal URI Facilities Committee review this, the President's Executive Council, and then here to the Board of Trustees in April for the preliminary review. And then we have another round of that in May and June for the final approval. From there it goes to the executive branch and the legislative branches for final consideration and approval. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder, the university has 321 buildings, 5.6 million square feet, and represents about 28% of the total real estate portfolio for the state of Rhode Island. Next slide, please. Next. This year, we've completed one project that will be removed from the capital plan. It is the College of Engineering Phase 1 project. Although the building opened in 2019, it's been on the plan for some time. Michelle, sorry.
3463.
Katie, could you mute the? Thank you. This has been on the plan for accounting purposes and will be removed this year. We have four other projects, Solavive, Ranger, utility infrastructure and repaving projects that we anticipate this will be the last year that they'll be on the plan. Next slide. Next. So asset protection, we always focus on this as this is our primary means of maintaining the campus. This applies to all E&G education and general buildings, about 275, just shy of 4 million square feet. This year we have requested $17.3 million to support these buildings. Next slide.
Hey, Ryan,
Yes.
do we have an indication, can you go back? Do we have an indication of where we are with the 17 million?
So I anticipate that this will be
Okay.
this will be more in the range of the mid 14 million approved. The state has been very generous with us lately as far as they've given us a bump up from the traditional levels, but they haven't yet approved the request that we've submitted annually. They do increase our allocation by about 3% to accommodate escalation each year, which is helpful. But we'll continue to discuss with them the need to bring this up to the full 17.3 million that we anticipate being required.
So you have a sense of like what you wouldn't do if you don't get the full amount?
Yeah, so we work under Carl Calvo to outline a 5-year plan for asset protection, which anticipates all of the projects that we would have to defer. And it's because it's a campus where we have a lot of deferred needs. Often the projects choose us as opposed to us choosing the projects, but we're cognizant of what all the projects are at each point so we can make informed decisions as to what we slide into the future should funding not become available.
Okay, thanks.
So the campus accessibility project, we asked for 16.5 million. In the current session, the governor's recommendation was for 7 million for this project. It will represent the first time that the university has gotten dedicated funds to address campus accessibility issues. So we're very happy to be on the budget and under consideration by the legislature now for this 7. We do anticipate moving that forward as a $7 million request for the 27 to 31 plan. The next 4 projects, building envelopes, Carruthers HVAC, campus access control, sorry, 3 projects were not approved and recommended by the governor this year. We will be inserting them in next year's plan, moved 1 year out and escalated to start in fiscal 27. The lower 2 projects here, graduate housing and undergraduate housing, we're keeping on the plan, but these are pending the final approval of the P3, which is going well, working with Gilbane to develop that. We do anticipate that we'll have final financial close in September, and these projects after that point would not be necessary to continue. Next slide. So public safety, shoreline stabilization, and water tower were all projects that were in future fiscal years, which it's typical for them not to be addressed in the governor's plan. So all 3 will be re-included in this year's capital plan with 1 change to the water tower expediting it by 1 year from fiscal 29 to a fiscal 28 start in anticipation that we'll need that excess capacity of water service for some of our new construction that's coming down the pike. The PFAS water treatment center, we requested 21.7 million in RICAP funding. The governor's recommendation kept us at 20 million for RICAP and recommended a $1.7 million request loan from the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. So we are planning on submitting our current fiscal 27 to 31 plan aligned with the governor's recommended budget of 20 million in RICAP and 1.7 for the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. Lastly, we do plan on increasing the request for the Blue Technology Innovation Center to $8 million from 5.25 million last year to be aligned with the application that is being submitted to RI Commerce for Innovation Campus funding. Any questions on the updated projects?
I just want to remind the committee that these are all, when we get these awarded, they're over 5 years, right? So those numbers that you see are not necessarily for just 1 year. They're spread out over multiple years. Just as a reminder.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, advance 2 slides, please. So we have 2 new potential projects for your consideration. One is the replacement of the bulkhead and dock at Allen Harbor. Allen Harbor is a small site that we have just outside Quonset in North Kingstown that acts as a primary gateway for educational and research support for vessels that are stationed there. Right now, we have a bulkhead that has failed. We are addressing it through asset protection for some interim repairs to just stabilize it. This project would come and replace the entire bulkhead and replace a floating dock that supports those vessels. Our request is for 5.5 million over 4 years, starting in fiscal 27. The second project is an enabling project for the Upper College Road mixed use, often called the University Hotel project. So in order to clear the site from the occupants that are there now, we need to do renovations at Washburn to increase the office capacity there to allow us to move the folks out of Tucker House. And we also plan on moving the Adams House occupants, the financial, sorry, I always go back to budget office, the Adams House over to Carlotti. The source is a $2 million from University Fund balance, and the intent there is to insert it as an ongoing project in the current fiscal year. Are there any questions about those 2?
What's the probability that they'll actually get funded, given that we've got a current list of projects that haven't been funded yet?
For Allen Harbor is because we're seeking state funding for that through RICAP. I think this will be the first year we put it on the plan. I don't think it'll be approved in this first cycle, but showing the ongoing need and being consistent with that, I believe will prove to be effective over the long term. Our interim repairs that we're doing will stabilize the site, but we can't not address this for a long period. So typically a few years it takes for us to get traction with the state. They understand the need, and then we can move forward. Abby?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's not unusual to have these projects on for a couple of years, but it's useful to get it on as soon as we can so they know of the need.
You almost have to anticipate like a couple of years in advance. Sounds like.
Correct, and we do look forward through that lens of kind of what is the need. It's ideal if we were to get this money in fiscal 27, but the stabilization project that we're doing will allow us the flexibility. We need more time to work with the state to gain this approval.
Okay, thanks.
The Upper College Road, given that it's our university fund balance, I don't anticipate any concerns from the state in approving that project.
Yeah, that's over $1 million, so we have to put it on there, basically.
Next slide. So in last year's submission, we indicated our 2026 GeoBond project as the historic quad phase 1. At the time, though, we noted to the state that we were in the process of doing our comprehensive campus plan, and there was a good chance that that project would be replaced by another project given the priorities of the institution. So at this time, we are recommending to convert that project to the integrated health building at $165.7 million. The integrated health building project will provide expanded programming and support to interprofessional education and clinical training in the health disciplines. Just to note, although it's an expansion to Whitehall, it doesn't anticipate renovating the existing Whitehall space. In addition, we're working now to forecast to the state what our anticipated 2028 GeoBond project would be, which we have as the Student Success Center. This is a project that we've been working on for some time. It would be sited where the existing Carlotti building is on the historic quad. And it would also entail renovating space in Pastore to move the occupants of Carlotti out of that location.
Some of you may recall this was one of the ones we considered for ARPA funding a few years ago. It was not funded, but it's been in the works for several years.
Any questions on the 2 GeoBond projects? Okay, if we go down 2 slides,
Can I ask a question about that? Sorry. Like, what's the communication process been? Like, does, do the speaker and the Senate president, does everybody know about this ask coming?
We haven't had active conversations, but I think we'll start those. I think Mark can start including those in his kind of talking points, but because this doesn't even get submitted until July and we've been really going through our internal review process. But we do want to start communicating about it externally so people are aware that it's coming because it is a change from last year.
Okay.
I'm going to interject. They like the idea, the 5-year plans and how we show them 5 years out, but yet obviously the immediacy of last year, the year before on this RICAP. So it's like a progressive argument. Each year, what's the next major project that we need, either direct money or on a GO bond. So far, so good. That's been working very well.
That's good. And just so I understand that, when you say we're converting the historic quad phase 1 into the integrated health building, so that the total will be 165 and we'll cover
yeah, so
both
maybe,
those?
It's a replacement.
yeah, the better word would have been replacement. So we're replacing the historic quad building with the integrated health building. So it would
Okay.
defer the historic quad building to a later date.
If I can, I think this reflects a lot of things. So as Abby said, we're going to work it into the talking points and the long-term planning. But I think it really came back to, everything we did around the strategic plan for the university, the campus planning exercise that's going on. But it's also clear, like, for example, health, a lot of things are changing at the university. College of Health Sciences is doing great. The College of Nursing is doing, incredible. And then the College of Pharmacy is also killing it. So it's a reflection of a lot of interest. And just to remind, we already have more than 6,000 students studying some aspect of the biological sciences. The other piece, the Student Success Center piece, as Abby mentioned, was a request we had submitted for ARPA dollars. We are currently housed in Roosevelt Hall, and a lot of that space simply cannot be used. It's been, Ryan, I don't want to steal your words, but it's in mold. It's not fit for human placement. So we've actually had to close a lot of that space, but that's important in terms of, everything that we want to achieve. We want our students to graduate. We want them to be retained. And so this is important.
Yeah, both those make sense. But just so I understand, the work that you want to do on the quad that you're pushing out, was that more for like quality of life, or were there like structural things to do?
Structural things on certainly on the fact that we have $90 million worth of roofs, and I'm picking a number now, that have to be repaired. The fact that we have structural things, so we're going to have to come after RICAP funding, and we are going to ask for serious RICAP funding. The state of Rhode Island has just not given, relative to the number of buildings that we have in the state, the RICAP support. Now, they did it, I have to say, with athletics for the first time, and also with commitment to the Bay campus on RICAP dollars. So that was great, but we're going to have those needs. There's other planning in terms of opportunities with physics and the College of Education, and swapping buildings. So there's also that's going on, but it is pretty much structural on. So I think we're really wanting to go after RICAP dollars. The others are very specific projects,
Right.
and I think the state of Rhode Island will understand how important that is for the future of Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that as we've seen in the past, bond financing is more successful when it's specifically, there's something specific and tangible that voters can say, oh, I get that. Whereas if we're fixing stuff on the quad, which is absolutely necessary, it sounds more like it's asset protection, RICAP. Even though we need, we have to figure out priorities on those dollars, it feels like that's more in that category.
That's right.
Yeah, and as Mark said, we are, it was listed as historic quad, but we are trying to think about for future, maybe there's something tied to a specific college or, how can we look at all the buildings that need to be fixed on the quad and identify specific uses that may resonate more. I did want to go back to slide 22 if possible, just so Ryan can share a little bit about the integrated health building, some more details.
Yeah, so this building is, as you can see here, is just to the north of Whitehall, connected internally. And it represents about 100,000 gross square feet. So it's a significant building on this site. The idea would be that we would start pending the successful vote and approval by the legislature in 2027 and complete in 2031. We have completed a full advanced planning study to understand the feasibility of its placement here and the overall cost.
Hey, Ryan, that building's costing $1,700 a foot. Is that not counting land? That seemed high to me. Is that programming inside? What, that didn't seem right.
So, I mean, through the lens of today, I can see that this project will be escalated out to midpoint of construction in that number. So that is anticipated to be basically a 2030 cost of construction 5 years from now, including all of the escalation that's associated with that.
Okay, and then when we have the scope of that, is that lab space in there or?
There's some dry lab space. There's simulation space. There are areas of a higher cost than your typical office or classroom space. In the current dollar, this would be in the $800 to $900 range for hard cost. With added escalation and then the soft costs associated, we get to that total project cost that's shown there.
I think it's also, Mike, to your question, I think Ryan and team, it's doing a good job of actually getting costing, because this is something we discussed, I remember even 4 years ago, maybe we were not being as honest or straightforward on cost. So I think it's more realistic about what's going to happen in the future. So.
Yeah,
Timing makes a big difference too. We talked about doing stuff sooner because escalations, but it seems like a big number unless it's lab space.
Yeah, and this advanced planning study did have a professional cost estimator on the team to evaluate the anticipated costs.
This is Chris. I just have one question. So I know that's in a parking lot, so get this question all the time. What's the plan for, I mean, will people that currently park there park down at the Plains Road and bus up, or what? Is there any kind of thought about that?
Yeah, so we are looking at changes to parking overall, not only for this project, but for other projects. And then holistically in our comprehensive campus plan, Plains Road is a site that we are looking to open up for faculty and staff, and then they can take advantage of our robust shuttle system. We also have done evaluations in the fine arts lot and the parking that exists there for faculty and staff. We do have excess capacity in that location that exceeds the parking that we will be taking off here. We are still cognizant, if you can see to the very top of the slide, there is still accessible parking along Flag Road anticipated, as we're always mindful to make sure that we provide accessible options for parking in and around all of our new buildings.
Yeah, Chris, that's definitely part of our comprehensive campus plan because all these new buildings are really impacting parking across campus. So I think that's all we wanted to present on, but I just want to remind the committee that if you go through this deck, it has a slide for every single one of our capital projects on the SIP. So it's a good reference for you. If you have any questions about any of those projects, feel free to reach out. We can answer them.
Have we gone to, have we ever, are these two separate bonds then? So have we ever done two in 1 year?
It would be 26 and 28. So
Okay, got
26 is official, and then 28 we just put on as a preview, but it's not the official year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions? Abby, you're gonna talk about the delegation of authority to the president relating to land and property?
I think first I'm gonna ask John Pullman to give an update on the FY25 projected year-end results.
All right, okay.
Okay, I know we have some slides for that. And I think most of you know John, he's our EVP for Financial Strategy and Planning.
Yeah,
Thanks, Abby. Good morning, everyone.
morning.
So today we're really here to talk about our anticipated forecast specific to the general fund. As a reminder, the general fund is a subset of what was presented to this committee in September in terms of our all funds budget. So this is really just the subset that is specifically supported by tuition and fees and state appropriation. So next slide, please. So this slide provides a high-level overview of the projected forecast for revenue and expense for FY25 based on actual activity through the end of February. And so on the first column, you'll see our FY25 budget with our revenue projected at $541.2 million and expenses projected at $546.8 million, resulting in a budgeted operating shortfall of $5.7 million. The second column shows our year-end projection for the general fund, with revenue coming in lower than planned at $527.1 million, which is largely attributable to missing our enrollment target for fall 2024, specifically for our out-of-state population. But we anticipate expenses coming in lower than budgeted at $528.9 million, including a one-time adjustment for compensated absences at $1.5 million. Taken all together, we are forecasting that we will finish the year within the general fund with a shortfall of $1.8 million. Next slide, please. So some key takeaways on the revenue side, as I just mentioned, unfavorable variance to budget associated with undergraduate tuition, again, due to our miss in fall 2024. Very much attributable to FAFSA impacts and the delayed rollout from the Department of Education. And then as well on the graduate side. So while we met our full-time targets, the mix was slightly different. And so we had fewer out-of-state students than anticipated, which has a financial impact. On the expense side, of course, we spent less in financial aid as a result of having fewer students than anticipated, less operating spend, personnel and fringe, which again, as a reminder, is largely attributable to the fact that we continue to have our freezing of vacancy savings measure in place for the university. And so all of those are favorable in that they are coming in less than what we had planned. Offsetting that on the unfavorable side is overtime pay. This is largely due to the number of weather events that we had, requiring our facilities team to have to pay overtime to get the campus ready for use, as well as anticipated compensated absences. And so overall, while our revenue was slightly down due to enrollment losses, our expenses were favorably low, resulting in a smaller operating shortfall than anticipated. Next slide, please.
So it's good.
Yeah, and so I'll conclude with just a brief overview of our plans and in the run-up to our FY26 budget allocation cycle, specifically to address our operating shortfall. So in light of our current operating shortfall and other federal uncertainties, URI is actively undertaking a budget balancing initiative to better position us to respond to the evolving landscape. FY26 are being developed based on historic spending patterns, as opposed to perpetuating forward prior year incremental budgets, which should reduce the size of our budget versus actual variances in future. And this is complementary to our budget model implementation effort, which focuses on the internal allocation of resources And that is still proceeding as planned with a targeted go live date of FY27. So that concludes the update on the general fund projection. Happy to take questions from the committee.
I'll just say the big takeaway is that we're trying to we're trying to go into FY26 with no budgeted shortfall. So we're trying to get to a balanced budget, which will then feed into the budget model, which really focuses on how we distribute money within the university. So that's really what this effort is focused on.
Very good. Any questions of John or Abby?
What tuition increases are you assuming for now there's future budgets?
Do you want to go ahead, John?
Yeah, so we're carrying forward the tuition and fee rates as approved by the full board during their February meeting, which was 3.5% for both in-state and out-of-state, both undergraduate and graduate.
And what does every 0.5% increase mean for the budget?
So I believe that I'm pulling up our information from our February meeting, Mike, where I believe that this was included. So bear with me for a minute while I pull that up.
Our September budget, we assumed a 3 million, 3%, and then in February you approved 3.5, which was going to bring in an extra 2 million net. So overall for
15.
undergraduate and graduate.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if we're gonna stop running shortfalls and we can't recoup it, we gotta think about, we don't wanna have huge increases, but we better, you remember this debate we had about what the right tuition increase is, so we may be a little aggressive on that, because, going to the state and asking for money, they're gonna say, what about other sources? And that's that's our biggest source of revenue, obviously.
Yeah, that's certainly part of the dialogue. We just have to be really careful that we don't raise it so high that we lose enrollment, right? And so that's why we work closely with Dean Labudi and the enrollment management team to see how can we maximize our revenue while limiting enrollment declines.
Right, no, I'm not, but I think, 0.5 point, if it's, we just gotta look at those things and get ahead of it so it's more smooth. If we're gonna wanna raise X million, we don't do it in 1 year, we may do it over 2 years, so we're just gonna think about that.
Yeah, I will.
Mike, sorry, Abby, I just wanted to say, I agree with you, but there is, it is a tough moment for families right now who have saved to send their children to university, and they're seeing, of course, those accounts also depleted. So you're right, it is an art, but at this time we're in an very uncertain.
Right.
And I will remind that 3 years ago, we had just over an $11 million shortfall, and then we had about a $4 million, and then back up to 5.7, and now, we're trying to get to no shortfall. So we have really been making efforts to reduce expenses and bring in more revenue to kind of bring that shortfall down. So that's our goal. But it does take some time to put measures in place and see the impacts.
And I think it's also important to remind, Mike, I agree, our undergraduate tuition is incredibly important, but we're, going all out on, URI online programs. So if, and for those of you who watch sports on TV, you'll see we're doing quite a bit of a presence there. And then also our professional masters. So for example, we just had approval through the Faculty Senate for a new Masters in Engineering for in management, business management and leadership. So I think that's joined with the College of Business. So there's those that we have been pushing, those professional masters and so forth that the community needs. And then finally, certificates. So certificates, for example, in artificial intelligence and so forth, that will be important.
Okay. Abby, what do you want to handle next?
I'm gonna ask Ryan to just do the brief report on delegation of presidential authority.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Abby. So we only had one delegated action, and that was an amendment 2 to the facilities use and license agreement that we have with the URI Research Foundation to allow them use of the Ocean Technology Center on the Bay campus as an incubator to, for startup firms that are working in the blue economy to stimulate that sector for the state of Rhode Island. The change is to an extension by 6 months. So the new termination date will be December 31st of this year, 2025. Any questions?
And that building, FYI, it will be used as part of the ocean engineering complex renovation, so that's why we'll be shifting the use of that building over for that construction project.
Okay. Do we don't have any changes to the charter, do we?
No
I think
changes.
everybody has looked at that. There's no, it's just an FYI, and everybody had a chance to look at the calendar. And that's an FYI also. Okay, let's just go back a second. Mike is here, which completes the quorum for us, and there was one motion that we needed at the very beginning regarding the minutes of the February 3rd, 2025 meeting. And I would ask that a motion be made that the committee approve the minutes of the February 3rd, 2025 meeting. Do I hear that as a motion?
Motion, Mike
So moved.
Fascitelli.
Okay, I have a
Second.
first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay, opposed, no. Any abstentions? None. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, let's get back where we need to go next. I think we're ready now for executive session, right, Michelle?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, so the committee now get ready to go into an executive session to discuss issues related to the investment of public funds, includes any investment plan or matter related to where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A7, dealing with the update of the Series 2018A and 2018B bond audits. In addition, discussion relative to public purposes for the disposition of publicly held property where an advanced public information would be detrimental to the public's interest pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A5, specifically regarding an update to the university housing under P3s. The chair would now entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A7 for discussion regarding a matter related to the question of investment of public funds, which also includes any investment plan or matter related thereto, where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the audit of the bond audits, as well as discussion for consideration relative to the acquisition or of lease of real property for public purposes or the disposition of publicly held property wherein advanced public information would be detrimental to the public interest, specifically updated on the new university P3. Do I hear that as a motion?
Motion.
So moved.
Okay, I hear a motion and I hear a second. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? None. The motion to move into executive session is unanimous. The committee will now convene into executive session for the reasons specified. It is anticipated that the executive session will last approximately 30 minutes, after which the committee will reconvene in open session. The live stream will be paused during the executive session and will resume once the executive session has ended and the committee reconvenes in open session. Michelle, are you starting to move us out?
Yes.
All right. While we are moving, for all of those participating via WebEx, please confirm by saying yes that no other
We are back in open session.
Okay, we are, everybody back? We're all unmuted? Okay. Get my glasses. Okay, the committee will now convene back in open session, and the first order of business in open session, I need a motion to seal the executive session minutes.
So moved, Joe.
Second,
Second.
Okay, Margot, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. The next items on the agenda is 4, and we got some action items. Oh, we did that. Let's see, we got. All right, Abby, you and your team are up again on approval of contracts in excess of 5 million and recommendations to us as a board.
Yeah, great, thank you. So we have one a contract that we're looking for approval on under the policy of approval, the policy on approval and execution of contracts and other binding documents. It's a contract with Oracle, and Tracy Angel is here from our procurement team. We have 2 contracts with Oracle, so the board has seen a few Oracle items in the past couple of years because we have 2 distinct contracts, one for cloud services that was renewed and approved by the board back in November. This one is actually for PeopleSoft software license updates and technical support services. PeopleSoft is our current ERP, and that was renewed and approved by the board in June of 2024. We're now looking to do a 2-year renewal of this contract, which supports universities' HR, payroll, finance, and student information functions. And the total amount for the renewal is 1.9 million. So that's above the 20% or 1 million threshold of automatic approval for contract changes. So that's why we're bringing it back to the board. And in case you're wondering, we are, still working on our own ERP project, which I'll keep the board updated on, but it'll be several years. So we're obviously maintaining this contract, which supports our ongoing ERP.
Okay, any further questions of Abby? Okay, you got to bear with me on this. Is a long one. The chair will asking for entertaining a motion that the committee recommend that the board approve the purchase of services from Oracle America, Inc. as presented on substantially the terms noted in this memo, as well as the enclosed technical support services renewal order dated 1 April 25 from Oracle America, Inc. And that any authorized signatory, as defined in the policy on approval and execution of contracts and other binding documents, be authorized to negotiate the terms of any documents relating to such transaction on substantially the terms outlined in the enclosure, with any such changes and additional terms as are deemed necessary or appropriate by the authorized signatory. Do I hear that as a motion?
So moved, Mike.
Second, Joe.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I ask for the voice vote. All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. The next issue for approval is the approval of the demolition of certain buildings and recommendations to the Rhode Island Board of Trustees, buildings 5A, 5B, 5D, and 5 West Alumni Avenue, 25B, 25C, 25D, and Meade Stadium, finally. Bleachers setting at the 25 West Alumni Avenue in Kingston campus. Abby.
Great. I'm going to let Ryan brief on this one. Thank you so much,
All right,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Armand. So as noted in Armand's introduction, we're seeking the approval of the demolition of 6 buildings plus the stadium. We're happy to move forward with requesting this approval as it shows progress in the replacement of our athletic complex. In addition to your approval for the 6 buildings, we also have sought the approval from the Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission. Their approval for the demolition of a building is required for any state building that is 50 years or older in age. Through that process, they have noted only 2 of the 6 as having historic significance, and that is buildings 5A and 5B. They are the 2 wood shake buildings that are shown in your enclosure. They are former barn agricultural use buildings built shortly after the establishment of Washburn Hall in 1921 or thereabouts. However, due to their current dilapidated condition, the Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission is not adverse to their demolition, but have requested that we perform a Rhode Island Historical Resources archive before we demolish these buildings. I'll let the slide. So there's one, and the next slide is the second. So those are the two structures. We will be engaging a qualified professional to do this historical archive before demolition, and seek your approval to demolish all six, as including the stadium. Do you have any questions?
Okay.
It's gonna be great to get rid of those buildings.
That's, you know, gotta get rid. Joe, that stuff was built, I think, even before you went to URI. And me, I remember some of
I
those.
do remember when I was a freshman, though, yes.
This is like near and dear to my heart. I used to work for, when I was going to school, I worked for Squazi Demolition. It was something of a finality when you work for that company.
I do want to just mention, I appreciate Professor Bovee weighing in, giving us some feedback, as those two are really historic buildings. So, it's been a good dialogue, and I know the president's very aware of all of our historic buildings. So while I do think these are signs of progress, we want to make sure we do it in an appropriate manner. So.
Yeah, I like the archive part of that too. Okay, having no further discussion, the chair will entertain the following motion: that the committee recommend that the board approve the request to demolish the buildings at 5A, B, D, at 5 West Alumni Avenue, as well as 25B, 25C, 25D, and the Meade Stadium bleacher sitting at 25 West Alumni Avenue, Kingston, referenced by their 911 identifiers and located on Plat 23-1, Lot 1, in the town of South Kingston, Rhode Island, at the University Kingston campus, as presented in the enclosure. Do I hear that as a motion?
So moved, Joe.
Second, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Voice vote. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, no. Abstentions? Hearing none. The motion passes. Okay, we got one more. We got the approval to purchase 42 Upper College Road, Kingston, Rhode Island, and recommendation to the URI Board of Trustees. Abby was going to handle this one.
I'm going to ask Ryan too, as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Armand. So we're seeking your consideration and hopeful approval of the purchase of 42 Upper College Road from the URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement. The URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement purchased this property through an established LLC back on October 15th. We can pull up the slides. It is strategically located on the corner of Upper College Road, Campus Ave, just kind of diagonally across from the President's House, along a pathway that's a key entrance to our campus.
I don't think we have the slides today
Oh,
for that one, Ryan.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay.
So the key location at that intersection to the entrance of campus is why we're seeking the transfer to the university, so that we can control that corner parcel. On October 10th, 2024, we did execute a memorandum of understanding with the URI Foundation, outlining the potential to purchase from them at their purchase price of $612,000 plus reimbursement of their expenses. And we have presented to you in your enclosure the purchase and sale agreement for your consideration.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
No further questions. That's it. Anything becomes for sale, we got to activate. Very good. All right, the chair will entertain the following motion: to recommend approval of the purchase of real estate at 42 Upper College Road, Kingston, Rhode Island, from 42 Upper College Road LLC, as presented on substantially the terms of the enclosed PNS agreement, and that any authorized signatory, as defined in the policy on approval and execution of contracts and other binding documents, be authorized to negotiate the terms of any documents relating to such transaction on substantially the terms in the enclosure, with any such changes and additional terms as are deemed necessary or appropriate by the authorized signatory. Does Chair hear that as a motion?
Motion, Mike.
Yeah, Mike?
Second, Joe.
Joe, thank you both. Any discussion? Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Did we cover everything? And your voice held up? Thank you. Good job. Motion to adjourn is in order. Do I hear that as a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, abstentions, hearing none. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Good.
Thanks, Simon.